So at the PlayStation Showcase, the kings of live service games, aka Bungie, were able to show one of their games called Marathon. This game is going to be available on PlayStation and the Xbox. More than likely will be available on PC. I don't think Bungie is interested in that exclusivity. In fact, there's a report right now that Bungie has been tasked with advising PlayStation on evaluating their live service games. The conversation about PlayStation wanting to dabble a little bit more into the live service genre is one that I think a lot of folk within the Sony ecosystems have kind of ignored for the most part. You see, Sony had always pushed its value proposition as we'll give you these really interesting single player games, but a lot of people didn't necessarily consider that these single player games are quite expensive. They do make money nonetheless, but their profitability cannot be matched with what you're going to see from a project that hits success, as say something like Destiny, or maybe say Grand Theft Auto Online, or maybe Red Dead Redemption Online. So basically one project that can rake in as much money as say 2 of your single player games in 1 year and beyond. That is what I think Sony is attracted to and what has made them acquire Bungie. You see, the whole live service thing was inevitable. A lot of these companies that have done live service games in the past that have seen them work, like the Division 1, the Division 2 with Ubisoft, and even some that have failed, like Ubisoft, Hyperscape, and even some other titles, while some others, they struggled at launch, but still ended up being very profitable, like Ubisoft's Rainbow Six Siege, which kind of at launch was a huge struggle, but eventually was able to rake in about 2 billion euros for Ubisoft. When people like Sony sees that and go ahead and evaluate to say, man, how is it possible that even a live service game that didn't meet expectations, that gave people a fake trailer, and this is Rainbow Six, by the way, and still launched and still became some huge thing for Ubisoft to be able to rake in billions of euros for them? Man, we need to get in on this particular package. In fact, if you're looking for some data to that effect, you can even see some preliminary stuff that talks about the report where in May of 2029, Ubisoft was reporting that Rainbow Six Siege had reached $1.1 billion in lifetime sales. The number actually continued to go up as time went on, and with expansions and other aspects of the game being added, fleshed out, and extended with tournaments and all that, the game for those years, or all the years that it'd been active, I think it's still active, made Ubisoft a lot of money. So seeing Sony looking at this and going, man, we got to jump in on this is not something that's surprising to me, because they've always used money from license fees, investments possibly, and even huge companies that sell massive numbers of their copies of their games on their platforms, and basically the profit sharing that goes into things like, digital content that's paid for on their stores and their digital platform to use to fund these live service games. So now Sony wants to actually start generating the income themselves rather than wait for these companies to make the games like Call of Duty, like Destiny, like the Division and the Division 2 to generate this income, give them their share, and then they can invest that money in their own single player games, turn that around, use it to rake in and rope in more people into their ecosystems. So this is pretty much what you're seeing go on right now. Does this mean that PlayStation is going to abandon its single player propositions? No, it's not going to do that. But it is going to go on a heavy emphasis, because many of us know that, for the most part, they've already said in one of their investor meetings that they're committing themselves to actually working on, I think, somewhere around 11 or 12 of these games, just to make sure that, in their minds anyways, that one of them or two of them will go on and become something successful. So expect to see it. And it's not a slight on Sony. I think many people kind of saw their business proposition of the single player games as the only essence for Sony existing, which folk like me have all said it's not sustainable. They really have to go to a model that can generate a ton of money, especially if it's a model like the live service paradigm, which has generated a lot of money. And I don't want to hear anybody say anything about Game Pass not having quality. You see, a lot of people say this stuff, oh, Game Pass reduces the quality of games and blah, 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 blah. I hope you guys know, too, that live service games don't necessarily carry the quality of single player. Don't necessarily. I don't think I've seen any live service game that can brag, about carrying the quality of any of the PlayStation exclusives in terms of video games. So these so-called low quality conversations are now changing because even Sony is now dipping heavily into it. Again, this is what businesses do. They do things that are going to make them money. And I think once Sony, ecosystem folk start to understand this, there's going to be a different conversation. You see all this talk on the internet about console fanboys and all this stuff. And I look at a lot of them and I just laugh. And I'm like, some of you truly do think that, Sony really does care about, oh, yeah, we want to give you 7 God of War as the exclusive thing that, they want to put out there. The truth of the matter is they have in their sights the need to want to go ahead and work on, these profitable niches that is going to bring them money. In fact, if you look at this, you realize that some people have mixed feelings for the most part anyway. Some people they're fine with it. With Marathon, there's a positive, acceptance anyways to see what's going on. But when you look at the conversation surrounding, say, other aspects of the PlayStation Showcase, you'll realize that some people were saying things like, oh, we kind of felt that this particular, PlayStation Showcase was kind of heavily, emphasizing a lot of these live service games. And when it came to the single player games, we didn't get to see a lot from Sony. It's not like those single player games are going anywhere. They're still going to be there. But there's now going to be a hybrid in the way that you're going to be seeing it. Sony's going to be publishing some of these, and as well as, seeing the way Bungie is actually here, getting the job done for them. It's going to be interesting overall to kind of see how all of this stuff plays out. But I'm curious to see how people respond to this. If you've invested maybe in an emotional sense into these paradigms, you're probably going to be disappointed, but you shouldn't do that. Don't invest any emotion in any box. Don't support, any studio like they care about you. If they provide something that you need, spend money for it, as money that you can call disposable income. Enjoy the entertainment, go your way. That's about it. That's the only relationship that they have with you. They're not your mommy in a sense. So that's pretty much my video for now. Let me get out of your hair and let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. All of this stuff is interesting, and I appreciate you guys so much for taking the time to watch the video. Thanks once again. Peace out.